Welcome. For those who I haven't met, I'm Zoe Fitzgerald, Director of Alkimia Learning, and really excited to be your host this evening for our Alkimia Supper Club. For those of you who don't know Alkimia, we believe in transforming together so that something different and better is possible. And part of our work involves partnering with Chaos Pilot, which has been offering transformative learning experiences for more than 30 years based out of Denmark, and we partner with them here in Australia. And experience design is one of the professional programs that we offer of Chaos Pilot. And that's very much related to what we're going to be sharing today to our topic of no budget, no worries. And the Chaos Pilot connection is what made LinkedIn connect me to our guest speaker this evening. But before that, I'd really like to um, pay my respects to the traditional owners of the lands where I'm joining you from this evening, and that's the Bunwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I have here oh no, yes, here it is, their floral symbol. And I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands wherever you're joining from today. And as I was preparing this slide deck and found this photo, I was just really drawn to honor, I think, as well, the tens of thousands of years of Indigenous history of showing us how to coexist, how to make meaning within a very constrained environment. And so I think that's worth honoring here today, particularly given our topic. And our guest speaker today is joining us from lands very far away. That's Monica Matei, who, as I said, I think the LinkedIn algorithm, helped us discover each other, perhaps through Chaos Pilot connections, I'm not sure, or experience design. But I'd really like to appreciate Monica, not only for getting up early this morning in Denmark, but for her generosity in offering to be our guest speaker today. I'm really excited for her to share her story and examples and knowledge with you all during the session. But she'll introduce herself in a minute. And these days we've got just got 1 hour bookings at the Alkimia Supper Club, so we're going to jump right in. Today is all about nourishment for your brain and your soul. Just like Winnie the Pooh here, we hope that you leave satisfied from today's session, but also wanting more of the good stuff. And we're really keen to bust that myth that, we need big budgets and lots of resources and big teams in order to create memorable moments and meaningful experiences. So your mission here today is not just to enjoy yourself and have some yummy food, but to discover at least one low-cost intervention that you can use at your next experience to make it more meaningful and more memorable. How are we going to go about that? So the menu for this evening, aperitifs, we've started on. We'll share a bit of etiquette in a second and an opportunity to get to know each other. We'd love to have some co-creation canapes for entree. Our main course is storytelling with Monica, with some reflections and finding out from you what flavors really stood out from the main dish. But we'd love to leave you with something small but sweet for your next experience. So how can that give you some ideas on a small intervention that can make a big difference? And end with a digestif, which is something I discovered when I lived in Spain, something to drink at the end of the meal to help with that digestion as well, to apply your learnings beyond this evening. So just in terms of etiquette, please do use the chat. Great to see people doing that so far. We've got some time for questions allocated, so feel free to pop things in there as they occur to you, and we'll monitor it and share follow up. Likewise, if you prefer to respond, raise your digital hand, which should be down the bottom in your control panel there, and we'll call on you. Feel free to dig in and eat as you're going. As I said, I'm having tech issues. I can't see anybody on screen, but I had my grilled cheese sandwich comfort food a little earlier. But we are recording, but only if you're talking and you're going to be on screen. So don't stress about that. And another part of Supper Club etiquette, you might have noticed already Monica's cat, Layla. She loves making an appearance. So when you see her, let us know in the chat. Whoever joins in the fun of spotting Layla is going to go into the draw for a free Elevate Your Experience coaching session with myself or Ramon from Alkimia to help you elevate an experience that you've got planned. So yeah, let's make Layla feel welcome and part of the fun. Alrighty. Hey, everybody ready? Again, I can't see you, so I'm hoping this. I hope so. Hope yes.
Ready to
Um,
go, yes.
Amazing. Thank
Yes.
you. I think I even recognize your voice, Cassandra.
Yes, it's me.
It's you. Awesome. All right. So, love to have some connection before content. So let's, normally at a dinner, we normally get to chat mainly with the person to our left or right. So let's do a quick breakout, and love for you to connect around, yeah, the kind of obvious questions. What's your job? What do you do? Who do you design experiences for? Whatever those kind of experiences look like. And what's your comfort food of choice, and what emotions does it evoke? Might seem like a weird question, but for me, I chose grilled cheese sandwich. And when I was thinking about it, I realized that's because what my mom used to make me when I was a kid and I felt sick. And it's now what my husband makes for me. His version's a bit more gourmet. Don't tell my mom, but there's something about that combination of the crunchiness and the cheesiness that I find it just represents warmth. And I had to make that grilled cheese sandwich that you saw in the photo myself, and it just did not have the same impact. So there's something about that care and warmth. So love for you to connect with at least one other person. Imagine you're sitting next to the table. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms, and yeah, you're going to have 2 minutes. You're going to have 3 minutes in there. Sorry. So yeah, I think espresso, not long black in terms of how much time you take, but just a chance to connect with the person sitting next to you at our supper club. So I'll open those rooms, jump right in, and I'll see you back here soon. All right. So hopefully, co-creation is going to appear a fair bit throughout. I think from what I know of Monica's story, so hopefully that warms you up a little bit. And yeah, definitely, we all want an invite, I think now. It's in the recording. But yeah, so have just kind of keep with you that experience of co-creation, and we'll see how that might change or evolve as we work through our menu. Um, and we are definitely in time for our main course, which is storytelling with Monica. So I am going to stop sharing and hand over both the screen sharing. Oh no, I can see you all. That's so great. Staring into the abyss. And yeah, really excited for what Monica's going to share with you all today, and she's going to hopefully get her slides set up.
Thank you, Zoe, for having me here. I'm so happy. I'm connecting from Denmark. It's 9 in the morning for me. But just super grateful for the technology we have that I can do this. So I'm talking today about no budget, no worries, creating impact within constraints. So my name is Monica. I'm the founder of Ceremonica, a Copenhagen-based experience design studio crafting extraordinary gatherings for curious humans. And so Copenhagen, Denmark, but I am actually a foreigner here. I'm an expat, and one of my biggest projects is actually the foreigner's journey that you see here, that my poster in the picture. I also host team building events and consult on how to design better workshops and events for event planners and facilitators. That's a bit about me. A bit about where it all began. So I was not born knowing how to design experiences. Before doing this, I was part of another company, a startup team, and I remember there, before I got the knowledge, I was trying to be really creative about the ways we gather and the ways we hold workshops. So I wanted to start with this backstory of mine, which I think really fits. So I was tasked with researching our contributor base, basically the creators that were selling their work on this platform. And basically, I was conducting interviews and gathering data, and I had put together this analysis of the data to communicate to the team. And the problem was that I didn't want to do, one of those boring presentations, one of those, slides with lots of graphs that would have me talk for half an hour alone with a passive audience. And by the end of it, maybe they'll remember something, but maybe it will all blur together and they wouldn't get all those insights that I really wanted them to get and to stay with them. So I turned it around and I said, no slides. I'm not going to be talking for half an hour alone. I'm going to involve them into this. So what I did, I created this newspaper where I kind of disguised all the data inside sensationalistic articles with, fun titles and printed different copies for everyone in the team and gave them highlighters and had them read the newspaper out loud to one another to the room and highlight the information that they considered stood out to them and they considered important. And that was a big success. Actually, I'm gonna show you. Yeah, it looked like this, and this was before, ChatGPT. So I was, sitting there doing it myself at home over time. But I'm so happy I did it because the result was that they talked about this for the following months and they remember and they were already thinking about changes they wanted to make to the product and to the website that could accommodate for the feedback that we had gathered. Um, so I'm all about breaking the script and being super creative with um, experiences and gatherings. But yes, just coming back to the real world, and I've been sitting in a lot of professional meetings and professional events that look like this. This is a stock picture, but I feel it's representative of many of the experiences I've sat, like events I've sat in. And also, yeah, a meeting like this with post-its, workshops with lots of computers and so on. And I don't understand why they all have to look like this. And I don't think it's about the money. I don't think boring, unengaging events and workshops need a big budget in order for them to be memorable and to engage people at the different levels. I went to events that were fully funded but still missed the point, where I did not make any new connections or where I didn't really learn anything, where I felt disconnected from the topic. And I also find that a lot of events and gatherings are ego driven. So it's more about needing an audience to listen to you, but not necessarily caring that much about the audience. So I believe there is a general lack of imagination and aliveness when it comes to events and workshops. I find that they all follow the same old script that fails to engage us and move us in any way. It's time to break the script on how we gather. And I find that breaking the script takes courage. Sometimes it's highly experimental. And I experiment a lot, and I never know how people are going to react with to what I've prepared for them. But I vowed I would never use post-its, for example. So yes, it's time to design for experience. So as a contrast to the examples I showed you before of those professional gatherings, I wanted to show you a little snapshot of how my own work looks like. Let's see if this little video starts playing. Were you able to see that? Good, good. I see you nodding. So, I don't have budget. I'm a small business owner and I rarely have access to big budgets. Everything I do is bootstrap. And I find that in order to make this kind of work happen, you have to be imaginative and resourceful. So I work in knowledge intensive ways and try to leverage my creativity and whatever I have around me in order to create impact. But I was not, yeah, I was not born knowing how to do this. So I'm gonna walk you through how I got here. But before, I wanted to let you in on the backstage of my work. So what you see here is all the materials I use to stage my experiences. And you can see, this suitcase is filled with random objects. We have, reusable plastic cups and stickers and party curtains and frames. I have balloons and I have prints, and none of these are actually expensive. Um, they are all like, in the end, they are a million small things that I carry with me and I bring, suitcases, but none of them are actually pricey. So how did I get here? I wanted to share a few of my biggest influences with you. So I'm an alumni of Chaos Pilot. It is this amazing school here in Denmark, but they also have these programs around the world. Funnily enough, I did my training at the same time as Marilee here in this call. Hello again. So that was back in the summer of 2022, and this is where I learned the art and science of experience design. And I was really amazed of how the impact they created with very little in a way. Of course, there is so much knowledge behind, but also that the objects they made us interact with and the things we did were not really big budget. For example, we had to throw this stone in the harbor at some point, and our notebook, we also found it outside in the harbor. And then there's also this ritual at the end of the training where you vote with what part of the 3 days together you like most, and you vote with these little candles over this hand-drawn map. So a really big inspiration for me. And then the second big one for me is the World Experience Organization. It's a community of people that are passionate about designing experiences better. And I wanted to share with you this example from the World Experience Summit of 2023 in London, and how this little toy ring that you see here is one of my most valued possessions still to this day. And it probably costs a few cents, but the way it was used and the experience we all shared made it so powerful and so valuable. So it was by an experience by Alain Tus at the summit. And the way he did it was he had us find all these rings underneath our chairs, and then we all held it up in the air and we swore an oath, you know, everyone at the same time swearing that we would use our power as experienced designers to do good and to improve people's lives. So this was like a collective moment of power, a really solemn moment. So this ring is now infused with a lot of meaning and the power of community. And this is what I see when I look at it, but it's still very cheap. A ring that, without this experience attached to it, it would not have the same value, and it probably looks like nothing to an outsider. So finally, wanted to share some strategies for designing low budget, high impact. And that's based on knowledge and creativity, basically. So one of them is leveraging symbolic objects like the one you have just seen with the ring. So choose items that create emotional connection through shared meaning making and interaction. So this is about being imaginative and creating, putting value into an object by the way you use it and the context. I wanted to share a couple of examples from my own work. This is very, very quickly from my own wedding. I experienced designed my own wedding, and we used different things that really didn't cost a lot. Framed pictures of me and my now husband as um, children that we exchanged symbolically, and now we really treasure having these because we shared that moment together. And also, we asked all our guests to share their pictures, and we hang those as decorations in the garden. And then these doubled down as postcards at the end of the wedding, where they wrote their highlight of the day and their address. And later on, we sent it to them. And I know that all my friends, for a fact, still keep this pinned to their fridge. So it's really a treasure memory. It's double infused with meaning. Also, during my work with the Foreigner's Journey, which I didn't share much before, but it's an experience I have for expats in Denmark who feel trapped between worlds, not belonging here nor there. We have a moment in the experience where you're invited to write something on a stone that's been weighing you down in your life as a foreigner. And I collect these, and my promise to them is that I scatter them again in nature so that nature can take care of their pain. And this is me doing that in these pictures. So highly symbolic objects, but still stones I picked up from nature and took back to nature. Next, we have co-creation. Co-creation is one of the big ones here, one of the big ones for me. So it's about involving participants in creating the experience with basic materials that transform them from passive observers to active creators. So I soon realized I don't need to do everything myself, especially since I work mostly alone or with my creative partner, Adele. So this is an example of an experience I ran with a team recently. And it is, the instructions were to build a fort in their office, and I only brought a few of the fairy lights and some colorful blankets and some strings. And they had to manage to do something with what they had around the office. And it's just to highlight that the engagement here is immediate, involving them as active participants and then them creating something together. It's magic. So I really, this is one of my favorites, and it's always a great recipe for success. We also have creating playful interactive moments. So it's about designing simple, unexpected interactions using games and play that make participation fun and memorable without expensive production. And I'm going to share a couple of those moments. This is from an experience called the Energy Experience that I hosted for a team for their team building. And you can't see it that well in this picture, but there were glasses with colored sand, and each glass was labeled with a negative emotion like stress, boredom, contentment, whatever that was. And everybody had to, fill their own little glass with the sand that reflected their experience during the past few months at work. And then we had this collective fun moment together where we would pour all these negative emotions into this goblet, this magic goblet that would take care of the emotions and transform them into growth. It was called the Goblet of Growth. Nice collective moment there. And this is from The Foreigner's Journey. It's a really fun part. It's basically these papers you see on the floor represent thoughts that foreigners could be thinking, negative thoughts. And then people are invited into this room and told to unfold these papers and read them and find a train of thought. Yes, next, tell compelling stories. Use personal narratives and vivid storytelling that resonates, relying on emotional impact rather than expensive props or technology. So a way I do this is also in The Foreigner's Journey. We have a moment of storytelling that becomes very emotional and very vulnerable, and therefore the highlight of the experience that people remember long after. And also this moment is also a blindfolded moment. Blindfolds are really cheap, but always create this, wow effect. And in this picture, people are listening to their own consciousness. They're invited into a new world, and the world inside the inner world of the foreigner. So a really powerful moment as well. And I believe this is the last one. Focus on relationship building. This is a big one in experience design because experiences improve relationships and deepen relationships. And this one is about prioritizing human authentic connection over expensive production values, creating shared moments and conversation. And one of the way I do this during my experience called The Foreigner's Journey is by, we have this map on the floor, which is one of the first things people see when they enter the room. And this is a room full of strangers, basically. But this map exercise, which is basically putting little heart stickers on your favorite spots in the city, is used to build the connection between people, to fuse guests into a tribe. Like, hey, we all love this city. We all have a favorite place here. And that sparks conversation. And yeah, like also sharing, I encourage people to share from personal experience at all times and to bring their own meaning with prompts that are relevant to everyone, but everyone relates to them differently. And then we create this, conversations that are really meaningful. But yes, I've been talking for a long time now, and I want to also pass it on to you and ask you one question, which is, what are some other strategies you've noticed in this long storytelling that I have just shared? And I would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. What a delightful trip through your own experience design journey and some of the experiences that you've made. Yeah, and I'm really curious to hear from the folks at the table. Yeah, what stood out to you? Whether or not you can, not about labeling the strategies or anything, but yeah, what struck you in some of the examples that Monica shared about how she's been able to go beyond the kind of resource constraints, but still make memorable moments. Feel free to pop yourself off mute and yeah, share what stood out to you.
Hi, Monica. It's Cassandra speaking. Look, I just really loved all the things that you shared. It was very inspirational. I think in kind of my experience planning events, we get really caught up in like things like lighting and audio and what are all these sort of external things going to look like. And I really think for me, the takeaway is like thinking about how we really want people to feel at the end and what are small ways that we can sort of take them on that journey. Like finding a notebook is a very easy thing to do and a very engaging thing, but it wouldn't have occurred to me to like, kind of take people on that journey to find something. So I think that's really beautiful. And I also like the, imbued with meaning. I think I think often it's like, have a keep cup, but like finding little things that the experience can imbue with meaning when you're back in your real world or your environment. That can help you relive that experience. So just I think some beautiful creative things that you shared.
Thanks, Cassandra. Yeah, can definitely relate to the keep cup, which could be really meaningful, right? But it's when it's just done without that, it's more like a souvenir type vibe. Yeah, thank you. Other thoughts, reflections, or yeah, what flavors stood out to you from the main dish? Or any questions as well that you might have for Monica? Think Linda commented on the story about the ring and the stones being returned to nature. I think there's something really beautiful and symbolic about that. Which is yeah, I can imagine very memorable for the folks involved. Anyone there thinking that all sounds great for those kind of experiences, but what about this kind of experience that I have to deal with, or this kind of scenario? Anyone got that kind of question in their mind, maybe that you'd like to get some different thoughts on? Yeah, thanks, Tammy. Yeah, that. Doreen.
I just think in general, it's a really nice challenge to consistently think about how you want people to feel rather than what content you have to put through or what you, so just really thinking about how can I involve people because that's what they remember and that's how they learn. And I think you've got a few really interesting examples where you involve participants in it. And I think that's how you remember stuff rather than another PowerPoint, I guess. So really, really great little thoughts of how you could do things differently. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's I think as you touched on something there that really stood out to me was the co-creation side of it, and just the, like speaking, on behalf of Alkimia, right? Like our logo says transforming together. So we're big fans of co-design and co-creation. But until I chatted with Monica, I'd never thought about it in that way as well, about how, well, from a very practical point of view, we can also reduce our own resource needs if we're involving the participants in the co-creation of aspects of an experience, but also just the extra ownership, right, that generates as well. So I think that was something that really stood out to me. And also, I've got a question there for. Yeah, so there is a World Experience Organization Summit. This is the full name. It's happening in London, I believe, in a couple of weeks, right, Monica?
Yes, it's at the end of April. I'll be there, so if you come, say hi.
Oh, amazing. I definitely think we should all go. There is, but a little bit closer to home, there's a Chaos Pilot Experience Design program happening, which I can tell you about as well. But I did want to, where, as I said, these days restaurants have got these 1 hour bookings that we have to make our virtual table free. So I just wanted to share, yeah, I think we do need more time. I think these restaurants should, and I'm happy to stay around and chat a bit longer if anybody needs, but I also want to respect those who kind of only blocked out an hour. But I think, just really capturing there on the one slide, those different strategies that Monica talked us through with brilliant examples. And also something else that stood out to me was some of the attitudes that she mentioned, right? Not just from a strategy, but that imagination, courage, empathy, and adaptability. Because as she said, you never know how people are going to react to the experience that you offer them. And so that adaptability is another really key kind of quality or attitude there. And just a really quick dessert before everybody has to leave. And that's adding a bit of a framework to support this kind of thinking. And that's where I think what Chaos Pilot shares can be really valuable as well. So as Monica mentioned at the Chaos Pilot Experience Design Program, it's an experience in itself, and also over the course of the 3 days we really work through key frameworks and models and approaches and tools to design experiences in this way. And I think there's some quick tips from there that can be really useful as well, if you'd like to be designing more of these kind of experiences. And the first of those is, you can see this is the 5E journey map. I'll share with you a link to a Miro board, which has this in it, so you can do it digitally with some great examples there as well. It's been recently updated by Andy Sontag, the creator. But the first is it's meaning. Start with meaning. So, as Eva said, often we go straight to the activities, or, Cassandra mentioned as well, we're thinking about the lighting and the audio and the size of the name tags. But this framework really encourages us to put meaning first. So start with the meaningful outcomes that we're really seeking. And that's where you get this really great and beautiful connection to organizational culture, to strategy, to some kind of bigger, more meaningful impact that we're trying to seed, that we're trying to create in the world, in our organization, in our context. So we start there. Then we still don't get to the activities. Before we get to the activities, we think about the feeling. So we think about the emotional journey that we want people to go through, and we don't limit ourselves to so-called positive emotions. We think about that all emotions have qualities, and what are the qualities that they have, and where do we want those to ideally sit within an experience. And then we get to the what happens. Then we get to the activities. And I think for me, the method in that madness is that we're straight away we're thinking about meaning over money. So we're not starting with activities. We're starting with the meaningful outcomes. So really understanding and knowing that real why, and that's a brilliant compass that then guides all of the other myriad of decisions that you have to make. Similar to Monica, I also used experience design for my wedding, and knowing what our meaningful outcomes were for our wedding, it just helped us make all of those millions of decisions that you have to make for that kind of event. Feelings first. So again, that mapping the emotional journey before we get to the activities really can give you a great perspective shift and have more empathy about what's really going to matter most. And that's what helps you to create that shared meaning for whatever artifacts or objects that you use as part of your experience. And last but not least, that idea of the 5Es of thinking beyond just the main event itself gives you much more, unlocks a whole lot more potential for creativity and scope for low cost creativity directed towards that emotional journey and the outcomes. So whatever you do has a lot more impact. And yes, that's like an extremely quick ride through the Chaos Pilot model. But yeah, no, we have a couple of alumni here in the group, and so Marilee is going to be our co-facilitator for the program that's kicking off in April, and Eva's going to be joining us there. So yeah, I think what might just have to skip to the digestive there, but what we were ideally going to do is then, and this is an exercise that you can do after the session, is go back to that initial experience that you were brainstorming around, right? Whether it was the birthday party or the event with movement that Linda gave as an example, or Ben's 30th World Extravaganza. And if you thought about it that little bit differently, right? If you thought about it with the meaningful outcomes and the emotional journey, how does that shape your brainstorming? How does that create more opportunities and more scope for, oh, we've got a cat, more scope for creativity and for impact? So in terms of helping you to digest, we have here some digestive suggestions. Again, feel free to share your favorite to stimulate digestion of what you've learned here today. And 3 other suggestions. So the first is write it down. So either share here in the cat. Now I've got cat on the brain. Share in the chat what your kind of main takeaways have been. Write it on LinkedIn. Write it on a napkin. It doesn't matter where. Just take a little bit of time to capture what your key takeaways have been, so that they can stick. And what, even ideally, what's that one little idea, that one inexpensive intervention that you could try, could help make a big difference in your next experience. Apply this act, learn, adapt concept. So pick one idea, that smallest idea, prototype and test it in a low stakes way, reflect how did it go, learn, and then repeat. And I think, experience design really encourages us to take that prototyping approach deeper and further. So I'll send you some information in a follow-up email, but we'd love to see you at our Carespired Experience Design program at the end of the month in the beautiful, gorgeous Hepburn Springs, where we definitely invite nature to be part of everybody's solutions. Oops. I can really, maybe I'll just show this one here. Yeah, there's a QR code there if you're curious to find out more about the program. Like I said, I'll send you more info. We have a few spots left, and I'll send you the information via email about some a special supper club discount that we wanted to offer to you for joining us today. Oh, thank you, Chrisandra. So that's all for the session. The 1 hour booking goes very quickly, doesn't it? But like I said, happy to stick around and have a chat. And yeah, Marilee, I don't know if you wanted to share anything just as a co-host there for the end of April program before folks head out.
I mean, I think just the thing that I love about it the most, and thank you, Monica, for sharing all that like real experience, is that in the course itself, what I love is that particularly we get into prototyping. So we do all that like practice with the framework, but then you actually get to make stuff and then see how people react to it and see if, test your assumptions and see if it's, meeting those meaningful outcomes with your participants as you think it would be. So yeah, I've enjoyed, I've done the course a couple of times myself before going to facilitating it, and it's been such a good experience to be able to go and practice and actually like dig deeper into the framework. So yeah, would love to see you there.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. That's such an important point. I think that we definitely don't work on case studies. We invite you to bring your real design challenge, and it's such a diverse group of people. We've had from national conferences to 2-day conferences with 900 people to the Grand Prix to designing a funeral experience, leadership development retreats, and everything in between. So really versatile set of tools and an opportunity to test and learn and go deeper and further, like I said. So yeah, so if you are interested, I'll send the info. Ask a few questions about why you're keen. We have a quick chat, and then start thinking about a design challenge that you want to bring along. So our mission, hopefully, is mission complete. Hopefully you're leaving like Winnie the Pooh, satisfied, but also wanting more, and that you've come up with at least one low-cost intervention that you can use at your next experience to make it more meaningful and more memorable. And yeah, just recapping those, 5 high-level strategies that Monica really beautifully illustrated for us with her examples. Thank you once again, Monica. About how we can think differently about experiences that we're designing and how we can think differently about those resource constraints, and the courage, imagination, empathy, and adaptability that we need as we seek to do that. And yeah, these tips from the Chaos Pilot approach, starting with the meaningful outcomes, really thinking deeply about what's it really about. Um, and starting from there, and then thinking about that emotional journey that you'd like to take people on, thinking more broadly than just positive, but that, that happiness wave model that we talk about in the program. And again, thinking beyond the main event, how thinking about the excitement, entry, engagement, exit, and extension really create more scope for that creativity to emerge. And yeah, so that is a wrap. The waiter's coming and kicking us off our table. But happy to move to the bar and chat with anybody who's keen to keep chatting. I'd love to know what your main takeaways were. Was it a new thought, a particular feeling, an action that you want to take? Please do feel free to share in the chat or come off mute. And we've got a really brief survey there for you as well with that QR code. We'd love to know your feedback. And again, a massive, massive thank you to Monica for your generosity in sharing your examples today. And I definitely think it was the video you shared of the people making the fort as a way of saying goodbye to their office space that really captured me. Just seeing it reminded me, and I think, what a simple concept, but that, we can like comfort food, I think often connects back to nostalgia and great moments. So thank you so much for that generosity. And yeah, if anyone wants to share
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. And as I said, everyone wants to share their checkout, feel free to pop off audio or share in the chat. And yeah, thank you once again. I hope you got to have some yummy, yummy comfort food, whatever your choice was.